What's going on, everybody? It is me, Chase, here with Dolphins vs. the World, and we're back for another preview episode. And as always, I'm joined in the booth by our lovely producer, Joel, and my co-host, Anthony. Anthony, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm pumped. I feel like really good about this team. I feel really good about this season right now. Obviously it's early, but yeah, I'm excited for this upcoming game, home game. You're going to it, I think, right? You said?
Yeah, I'll be there.
there.
I'll be there. I'll be at pretty much every home game. At least I have plans to go to everyone. I don't know if someone's going to come up, but for right now, I'll be there. Hopefully watching a lot of wins. We've always had pretty decent home stand, even when we weren't good a home record. Right. And then when the fans start to come out, like the way this city is if you're good, the fans are going to come. And I think the Dolphins have earned the fans have started to respect this team. And I expect everyone to show out. I did see that, not that I have much impact on this, but I saw on Twitter a couple of people, mainly Big E is where I saw it first, trying to do a whiteout for the game. And I did see as well that Tua's mom retweeted it. So if you're listening to this and you're going to the game, wear white. I'm going to try to be in white. It'd be awesome if that place was just completely whited out for the game. That'd be so cool.
So you're saying they shouldn't dress like me right now?
Yes,
all black.
We're the opposite of that. We're the walls.
Don't look like Anthony. Don't dress. I had a student that asked. They were like, "Is your favorite color black?" And I was like, "Damn!" I just got roasted because I love like solid colors like whites, blacks, and then like dark blues. That's really all I wear, and then Dolphins stuff. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, dude. I wish I was going to the game. I'm out in Arizona. The only thing I get to watch is I'm not going to a Cardinals game. There's no zero shot of that happening unless the Dolphins were playing, which we won't. Yeah, so I'll probably be hitting up some Phoenix Suns games probably, but man, I'm jealous. I've only been to one Dolphins game. It was last year's Sunday night football game against the Chargers. So yeah, definitely if you're at the game, if you see Chase or anyone, definitely hit them up. We'd love to meet you guys for sure. I wish I was there, but one day for sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Then hopefully we could get something going. Well, like I said, I'll be at games. We'll try to make some plans for something. But yeah, and speaking of darks, it's going to be the Dolphins in white, and the Broncos are going to be wearing dark. So hopefully we could get them nice and steamy right off the bat from the start. This kind of throwing you for a side loop here, but do you want to just do the weather real quick for the game?
I was just about to pull that up actually, just because we're talking about it. I'm not from Florida, so this looks. I mean, this apparently seems like it's
every day. Yeah. It's when they say scattered, like in other places, it doesn't. No one really knows what it means, but here it means it's going to be raining for like 5 minutes, like a monsoon. And then it'll be clear, bright skies. The humidity is going to be brutal. Like anyone who's from here or has been to a game, it's always so hot and humid, and that's part of the advantage. I think honestly, like kind of just on a tangent here, but one of the reasons, like I feel like we have a home field advantage is September, like when it's as hot as can be, and the other teams aren't in great shape, like we saw with the Bills last year. I think it's a little BS. The Bills should be playing like the divisional game should be in Miami at the early parts of the year, and then we have to go to the cold weather in January. That should be a fair trade-off, but for whatever reason, I guess the Bills complain too much, and we're worried about their health, so we had to switch.
I mean, same thing. Patriots didn't play down here, but I mean, we whooped that ass anyway. It doesn't matter where we play. But yeah, I just actually was comparing because I was curious. Right now in Denver, it is the highs are like mid 70s and the humidity is like 15%. So going to 80% humidity, and anyone who's ever, I used to live in New Jersey. So I understand the humidity. It's not as bad as in Florida, but like humidity really, I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter about the number of how hot it is because that humidity just makes it hard to breathe. And it's just like brutal, no matter, even if you're in the shade. A lot of people say, well, the Dolphins are in the shade. Humidity is everywhere. Like the Dolphins still have to deal with it. Mike McDaniel talked about it. Like, we play in the heat a lot, but like we still have to play in it. It doesn't matter. So yeah, I'd be curious, to see if this is going to be one of those where, gets weather delayed. because you know how Miami games could be. But anyway, yes, certainly something to keep an eye on with the weather for sure. So
yeah. And then you know, we were kind of bouncing around a couple teams there, and we just wanted to touch on it a bit for you guys. Like yeah, the AFC, I don't know if it's the vaunted juggernaut that it was made out to be before the season. Let me hear your opinion first, and then I'll go with mine. But what are you seeing around the AFC?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's clear to me that there's 4 top teams, and they're honestly the 4 conferences, or 4 divisions. There's the Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Jaguars, just because out of their division, and then there's the Ravens and the Bills. You know, I think that I'm not going to base it off the Raiders game, to be honest with you. Let me see how they consistently do, but they're going to be a good team. But you look after that, and it's like the Raiders don't look good. No one in the AFC South looks good. The Chargers are 0-2. The Broncos are 0-2, and they're going to be 0-3. The Patriots are 0-2, could be 0-3. The Browns and the Steelers look horrible. And then the Bengals, who were like, hey, they're going to be a team that's competing. You know, typically they always find their groove about 4 weeks into the season. They're just such a simple offense. It takes them a little time. But with Joe Burrow's calf injury, I mean, it's serious that like a calf injury is something that's just going to nag and nag the whole entire season. And I don't think this is like years past where it's just, it'll be fixed in 4 weeks, or it'll be fixed by week 5. You know, I look at the layout of the AFC, and I look at the Dolphins, and I say, you know, obviously the health of Tua, like the health of Joe Burrow or the health of any of these quarterbacks matters. But I mean, the Dolphins are getting healthy. We have a top half of the NFL offensive line, and Tehran hasn't even played. We'll talk about the Jalen Waddle injury a little bit, but it's nothing super serious in my opinion, like you and I both talked about last week. And I just look at the layout of the AFC and I go, man, I mean, aside from like, I'm trying to think of even the Chiefs, like the Chiefs haven't looked the same. I still am going to give it to them because their defense looks good and they have Patrick Mahomes, obviously. But there's no one in the AFC that has stood out to me other than the Dolphins and maybe the Ravens that I look at and I'm like, man, they just look incredible. And I feel very optimistic. I mean, the Dolphins, obviously, we play an AFC team this week and next week. I mean, if you can win this week, you're 3-0 in the conference. And it's just, you know, there's a lot of positivity and optimism right now for the team. And that's why I started off saying I'm really optimistic, because I look at this AFC and I'm like, man, I mean, if the Dolphins can't win the division, or if we can't have a significantly good record, obviously if Tua is healthy, then I'll be shocked, because right now there's not a lot of good football being played in the AFC, to be quite honest.
Yeah. For me personally, like I'll again see around week 6, because like you said, I think a lot of these teams are still trying to find their footing. To me, it just seems like the Dolphins sort of, shockingly, I don't know if this has ever happened in my life, the Dolphins have been one of the more well-prepared teams to start the season. They came out in that first game, were clicking on all cylinders. And then the defense in a get-right spot, admittedly, like we'll touch on later, it was a very vanilla game plan, but the defense, it showed up week 2. And I think a lot of these teams are still kind of figuring it out. I think this may be part of the reduced preseason and an extra game. A lot of teams kind of are looking at it like, you know, we'll figure it out the first 4 weeks and then we'll really start to go. Like even the Jaguars, they don't look great. And that may be because the Chiefs finally have a real defense. We'll see. But yeah, the Chiefs are figuring it out. And then as always with injuries, with any team, the Jets getting Rodgers taken out basically eliminates them from contention in the AFC. Even if I didn't think they'd be in contention anyways, but if you did, I think they're eliminated barring a QB trade. And I think that would be for a specific QB in LA. I don't think if they trade for like Kirk Cousins, I don't think that gets them there behind this O-line still. But yeah, I think a lot of teams kind of just are figuring it out still, but time's running out. Like you said with the Bengals, like they can't start like 0-5 and then just flip a switch And
Right.
if it's a calf injury, but yeah, I agree with you. I don't see why the AFC is not wide open for the Dolphins to take. And man, that would be something. But yeah, I think it is. Right now, as we speak, it's wide open for sure. We'll see
Yeah.
in a few weeks, but
And I don't even, I think obviously the preseason we're seeing that playing in the preseason matters. And hats off to the teams, not just the Dolphins, that start their starters in the preseason, because it's widely being talked about how week 1 now has become just another preseason game. And when your games count, that can't be the case. But I think also on top of it, for those that don't know, McDaniel and the way Shanahan and that coaching tree does practice in the off seasons and training camp, it's a lot of 11 on 11. Okay. Typically camps do a lot of 7-on-7, and that doesn't really replicate real game success. And I think that, like you've seen with the Shanahan teams, the McVay teams, the LaFleur with the Packers, those teams that in the offseason prepare a lot of 11 on 11, they're ready to go like week 1 because they've practiced it so much. And I think really I've noticed that with the Shanahan teams, the main Achilles heel has been injuries, right? You look at most of the Shanahan coach teams from that coaching tree, injuries are the main thing that's a killer for them. You look at the Dolphins last year, you look at the Rams, you look at the 49ers, heck, even go over to the Jets with Robert Saleh coming from, that team. But they always start off strong. And I think you look at last year, you look at this year, the 2 best teams in the NFL for my money are the 49ers and the Dolphins. And I don't think it's a coincidence that both of those teams have the same coaching style, and both of those teams prioritized real game reps in offseason training and played their starters in the preseason. So, again, the key for both those teams is going to be health. But right now, especially also, we didn't mention, not in our conference, but the Trayvon Diggs injury, which is a shame with the Cowboys. He's out for the year now. And so, you look at it and you go, well, I mean, things can change so quickly. Right now, the Dolphins are in the driver's seat, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't see why this year isn't as wide open as it has been in quite some time. And again, and maybe just because it's week 2, coming up on week 3 here, and we'll see, maybe these teams can get a foothold and figure it out. That's not also to say that the Dolphins don't have a ton of questions also. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, you got to feel good right now if you're a Dolphins fan. They're playing competent football. And going back to last week, we got some stats here just to kind of pull up and go over real quick about the Patriots game and just kind of show truly how I want to say dominant of a performance, because it honestly was, barring a few sort of big plays. But yeah, so this is from Sumer Sports. Great follow on Twitter, Sumer Sports, and Eric Eager. Really smart guy. Used to work fully for PFF and now went on his own, and that's what Sumer Sports is. But yeah, one of just the main coders behind PFF when it was first starting off here. Yeah, so I mean, just look at all, obviously, as one can tell, green is good, red is bad for those just listening. This has the Dolphins in basically above every 80th percentile stat offensively, and the Patriots, not great. They had a good success rate. But yeah, the yards per play, just abysmal. EPA per pass, abysmal in the minus. And then I think this is kind of what surprised everyone the most. Their EPA per rush wasn't great. And I think a lot of people, if you asked anyone before that game, they'd say the Patriots are going to run all over the Dolphins. And the Dolphins really stopped that. And then, how did they stop that? I'll kick that over to you, Anthony, but I think the answer is they didn't they didn't need to do much.
No, so like always, all 22 doesn't come out until after we do our last podcast. So I've spent the last 2 days, including today, really even Tuesday too, but mainly yesterday and today, looking at the all 22, I always do last week's matchup, and then I look at last week's matchup for the team we're playing. So the Broncos versus the Commanders. And what I can say about the Dolphins Patriots game, normally, rule of thumb for those watching all 22 or watching even the broadcast view, you can't see as much, but you can kind of get a glimpse. You can tell what another team thinks of a team by how they play them. And the feeling I got, the sense that I got from the Patriots is the Dolphins had no respect for them at all on defense. Now, again, or no respect for their offense. Now, again, I'm not some wizard that understands all these complex coverages. I'm not someone who understands all these crazy routes. I love watching the QB school, which I advocate for a lot. Guys like Reason on Finside the NFL because they know more. They've played the game at a high level. But I understand like that's basic. And the Dolphins played such a basic defense against the Patriots. It was almost comical. I mean, it was preseason defense. They had no respect for anything on their team. They played a base defense most of the time. Well, actually, they played a good amount of nickel, but there was basic is not base. I mean, they played a very basic defense the entire game. There wasn't a lot of complex coverages like we saw against the Chargers. And that is exactly what you think of when you think of the Patriots. They don't have playmakers. They don't scare you in any way. And it was just a very vanilla game plan from Fangio. And then on offense, I mean, you can see here the Dolphins, and we'll talk a little bit about this week. The Dolphins are going to get to that point, like we've talked about the Chiefs in years past, where the only way they are going to be stopped is if they screw themselves over, right? The snaps, the missed field goals, because they were doing really whatever the heck they wanted. Okay, I'm pretty sure we've only punted the ball 4 times this year, which is awesome. It's pretty remarkable. And the Patriots did some good stuff for sure. But like, I mean, overall, you talk about the interception, which I'm not really sure what Tua saw there. Before I watched the all 22, I was like, man, if he throws that down the field, it's going to be a touchdown. But honestly, when I
maker, like just
when I rewatched the game plan, there was 2 high safeties, and he QB School talks about this too. Yeah. I highly recommend watching it. I thought it was a single high and he was looking him off and he just underthrew it, but it was double. It was 2 high safety and shouldn't have made that read. Probably should have dumped it off to the running back. But overall, I mean,
real quick, what do you think that they call the motion?
Oh, okay. You saw, I don't know what they call the motion, but that is the key for the Dolphins right now is they'll put someone at the line of scrimmage and then they'll motion them out on a wheel, and then someone else doesn't do necessarily a slant. They just kind of run a slant, but then stop and feel the zone and stop. And there was a pass where it was on 3rd and 7, I think. Tua threw the ball and Tyreek dropped it because he kept going through. There was another drop. On one of our punts, Jalen Waddle dropped an easy slam pass. If he catches it, it's an easy first down. So again, there was a lot of mistakes even, and we beat them by a touchdown in New England. But overall, I mean, just the play calling is just remarkable. Tua just seems to have a mastery of everything he's doing. But yeah, overall with the Patriots game plan, it was exactly what we both saw from the very beginning. Patriots just aren't as talented, and the only reason it was close was because of self-inflicted wounds from the Dolphins, mainly snapping issues.
And I think this shows it too. Like on there, even though you put away, I got it memorized, but their explosive play rate, the Patriots was like one of the worst, like as bad as it could get. They don't have any playmakers who can do anything. And then another thing that graph showed was the early down success rate for the Dolphins. That's something I feel like they've kind of struggled before. I feel like it was often last year where it was like 3rd and long, but we'd get it. We'd always manage to get it somehow, but it'd be like 3rd and 7 or a little bit more, and we'd get the first down. But against the Patriots, I mean, look at the early down success rate here. Just incredible. 90.29, like that's basically you're doing whatever the hell you want. And that's probably why the late down success rate wasn't as great as it normally was, because they were doing whatever they want early in the game here. But yeah, I mean, just overall, I'm interested to see what the Patriots come back with, because I mean, you could say what you want that they shut down Tyreek Hill, whatever. I mean, the Dolphins did whatever the heck they wanted.
Right.
I don't think they, even if the Patriots score, the only way they lose that game, I think, is if they get the 2-point conversion. And that's with the Dolphins playing, mistake late in football.
Right.
Mistake after mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's continue move along here. Unless you got anything else to say about the Patriots game.
No, nothing there. We can transition into injury report if you want to.
Yep. Let's
all right. Let me open that up real quick. See, I'm still learning how to do this. I thought I had everything. Okay. Sorry for the delay. I thought I had everything. I'm still learning how to share screen and stuff and get it seamless. So I apologize to everyone watching. Is that better? Is that good?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So this is from Cameron Wolf right here. This is the injury report. So let's just go through it real quick because I want to get to the Broncos, and I know for sure you do because there's a secondary injury in there that you have being something that we really need to prioritize in the game plan. But as far as the Dolphins injury report, I mean, we have Savon Ahmed who didn't practice. I didn't really see that coming, and I didn't think it would be that serious. So we're probably going to have to rely more on A-Chain. Jalen Waddle, I think he's not going to play on Sunday. And, kind of like I was talking about last podcast, I just think that unfortunately, because of what happened last year, even if he was ready to play, and I think honestly, he's fine. From everything I've heard, he's going to be completely fine. There's no worry there, but they're not going to force him back.
So from my understanding, this is around the league. If you're in the concussion protocol on Wednesday and you do not practice, you're automatically ruled out for Sunday.
Correct.
Not just the Dolphins, that's around the league. So that's just something, you could watch for if your fantasy guy,
right.
Your own team, whatever. If the guy's in concussion protocol on Wednesday, he's not playing the game.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at that, Teron Armstead, I want to talk about him a little bit, but let me get through the whole thing. I mean, Jalen Phillips is going to be back. Tyreek Hill was limited, but he's going to be fine. And then Xavier Howard just had a rest day. So you look at the injury report and it's like there's not really any significant injuries. Teron Armstead, dude, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. We didn't really talk about it. I'm getting to the point where I'm almost like, how long can we go without him? Because if Kendall Lamb's going to continue playing as well as he has, you have to walk a fine line of being like, I don't want to lose a game because he's healthy, but we didn't play him. But also, if you're able to continue winning, okay, because I legitimately look at the next 4 games, Broncos, Bills, Giants, and Panthers, and I think we're going to go 3-1 at minimum, okay? If you can get through the first 6 games of your season, maybe only playing Teron Armstead for 2 of those, or heck, if you just want to be like, hey, dude, rest, and we're going to use you for the last 10 games of the season, which we know he can play. I'm getting to a point now where, yes, I want to see Teron Armstead out there, and I'm not expecting the Dolphins to do what I'm saying or anything. But at the same time, I'm like, man, if Kendall Lamb's able to hold down the fort like he has, the longer you can postpone Teron Armstead being out there, and the more wins you can stack up without him, man, if you can get a healthy Teron Armstead for that later half of the season, that is just going to be huge. Again, I'm not trying to say that I'd rather have Kendall Lamb or Teron Armstead. Let me clarify. But what I am saying is I'm sure there's discussions going on of, hey, if Teron's at 85, let's not push him. Maybe in years past, he would probably be playing right now already. But, I know he's limited on there. I wouldn't be shocked if we got to Sunday. I'm not saying it'll happen, but I wouldn't be shocked if we got to Sunday and they were like, hey, he's going to be out again. And I'd be fine with it. I'd be like, okay, Kendall Lamb's going to be fine. And let's just get Teron Armstead as healthy as possible. I understand you're paying him a lot, so you want him to play, but curious your thoughts on that whole situation.
Yeah. For me, I'd need to see Teron play to kind of like break down I'd have to see the differences, but I agree with you. I mean, Kendall Lamb has been, honestly, it's been one of the better guards better tackles the Dolphins have had in quite some time. I'm trying to go back here and think maybe since like Laramie Tunsil, excluding Teron. But yeah, I mean, he has been all we could have asked for and more. But yeah,
I mean,
mhm.
well, I was just gonna say to add because right now he's the 10th ranked
Yeah,
offensive lineman, not
clamoring for
tackle.
years.
He's the 10th ranked
Offensive
offensive lineman in pass block win rate.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Like I said, I'd need to see Teron just kind of to see him play again. Because I mean, when he was playing, it was like if someone was rushing, they were neutralized. If we were running the ball, they were on the floor. But yeah,
when he was healthy playing.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. If Kendall Land's going to continue at this level, why not? Why not?
Right. And then I know you wanted to get into the Broncos because one of the players on here we thought, sometimes on Wednesday, like Xavier Howard, you'll get vet rest days. But Frank Clark and especially Justin Simmons now, 2 days not practicing. The Broncos secondary was already weak. Okay. They had Patrick Surtain II, for my money, is the best cornerback in football. And Justin Simmons is a top 5 safety, in my opinion. Other people may disagree. That's just my opinion. If you don't have Justin Simmons, I don't care if Jalen Waddle's not playing. You cannot rely on just Patrick Surtain. We saw this last year, right? Even when Javon Holland and Xavier Howard were on the field together. If the rest of your secondary is crap and this defense of the Broncos plays primarily aggressive man-to-man, I don't care if Tyreek's the only person out there. You can't expect the Mike McDaniel offense to be neutralized when your second best player on your team, Justin Simmons, isn't playing. So that is a huge, huge development for the Dolphins if he is not going to play.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. I quite honest with you. I think this offense is going to have a field day if he doesn't go. I mean, Sam Howell and Jimmy Garoppolo were throwing the ball all over the place against. What is this Dolphins? I'd like to think we're a lot better than both of those offenses. I know we are, but yeah, if Sam Howell can do that against the Broncos secondary, I'm really excited to see what the Dolphins can do.
Yes,
get into that.
Sam Howell's looking good, man. I'll say that. Sam Howell looks like a baller. Sam Howell's looking good. Obviously you have to see it more, but yeah, I mean, again, I understand that not having Jalen Waddle is significant. Well, it makes you less dangerous, but I think people underestimate, like, yes, there's the speed, but I would assume if you've never watched the All 22, or even just like, again, if you don't have All 22 and you just want to go like on the QB score, someone that does have it, like, there's guys open everywhere. It does not matter who you are. Like River Craycraft was wide open on 2 passes back to back that Tua just like threaded the needle in. Like, it doesn't matter. Tua had a winning record when he had Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, and Isaiah Ford. Like, I understand not having Jalen Waddle will be significant, but you still have lots of playmakers. Tua has the accuracy, and McDaniel's scheme is just, I mean, the way he's
in motion right now.
It's like, it's almost overwhelming because it's like, how does he think of, like, there's just a lot. So yeah, I mean, if Justin Simmons isn't there, and we'll talk a little bit, I know I want to talk a little bit about the scheme for the Broncos, but I mean, man, you need good quarterbacks in Vance Joseph's scheme. So if Justin Simmons is not playing, that I think that this game has a potential to be, like you said, just a dominant offensive day for the Dolphins.
Yeah. So we'll just share our quick thoughts and then keys to the game. But yeah, I think this is an opportunity, honestly, quite frankly, on both sides of the ball, to flex your muscle. And I don't know if the Dolphins will do it. It's, like you said, they played so vanilla against the Patriots defensively. I kind of am curious to see if the revenge game and all that, I throw that out the window. I don't think any of that's true. I mean, it's an NFL. Every game matters, some more than others. But yeah, I'm curious to see what they do. If Vic Fangio wants to, I think he can really embarrass Russell Wilson out there. He's pretty much the one who not ruined his career, but he invented the 2 high safety, and that's what is well known now. That before that's when Russell was good, and then now in the day and age of the 2 high safety, he's not good. So yeah, I'm curious what else he has to answer. What other answers he has, because that's what he made his name for in this league right now at the moment. At least everyone plays it too high. So defensively, I'm curious to see if we'll open it up, because if we want to, I think we could embarrass them. Same thing offensively. I think if we want to, we could embarrass them. I could see this being a little, as we'll talk about later, a little close to start in the first half. And then we kind of flip a switch and take over as the game goes on and they get more tired. But I think if we want to, I don't see why this shouldn't be a blowout.
Right. You and I see the game very similarly. It's a home game. It's your first home game of the season. There's going to be energy. As far as the revenge game, I don't necessarily think that it's like Vic Fangio's like, I don't care about any other game except the Denver game. I do think that going up against a team that he was head coach for and did a good job, it's just his quarterback was Drew Lock. There is I am extra motivated. I don't necessarily agree with like people who are like, I'm going to play extra hard this game. No, I just think that that's what the motivation is, like go out and dominate, not just because it's the Broncos, but or not just that he would only do it for the Broncos, but just this is the motivation for this game. I think that, like you, in the first half, if the Dolphins are able to win that first half, which we'll talk about in the keys to the victory, the Broncos have been a tale of two halves the last two games. Now, this is a team that could easily be 2-0 right now. They've lost by 3 points combined in their last two games. They lost 1 point to the Raiders, and they lost by 2 points to the Commanders. Now, it was a fluke Hail Mary that I don't know what the Commanders were doing on that. They just were like tipping the ball to the Broncos. But this is a team that scored 34 points in the first half over the last two games, 17 points a game. And then if you take away that Hail Mary, which I do because it's just a luck play and it's a fluke play, they've scored 9 points in the second half. So 17 points per game in the first half versus 4.5. And I think that, you could see the first half of this game kind of like the Chargers, where it's just like it's just like high scoring. But I think ultimately in the second half is where you could see the Dolphins start to wear down this team who's going to be in dark colors, traveling away, home game for the Dolphins. And ultimately, when I look at this game, I think there's a good amount of talent on the Denver Broncos offense. I like Javonte Williams. I think they have a good wide receiver unit. Marvin Mims is a speedster that you got to be careful for him. And, he had a 60-yard touchdown pass against the Commanders where he took the top off the defense. Don't think that'll be an issue because Vic Fangio likes to play those too high all the time. But on defense, we kind of got into it. This, to me, is not a good matchup if I'm the Broncos on defense, because we have seen that teams who play aggressive man-to-man do not have success against the Dolphins. I don't care if Jalen Waddle's out there or not. And, for me, if I was playing the Dolphins, the way I'd be playing the Dolphins is don't give Tua these easy, quick passes. I think a lot of people think get pressure in his face. Tua is getting the ball out in under 2 seconds. Okay. There were so many plays against the Chargers and the Patriots where he had a free rush and it did not matter. It does not matter at all. And I don't think that being aggressive, the Broncos can't blitz or can't apply pressure without blitzing. We know what that's like as Dolphin fans. And they play a lot of man-to-man. And I just think that that's not a good combination against this Dolphins offense. And so ultimately, I like I said last episode, there's no surprise for me. I'm going to pick the Dolphins to win. Obviously, we'll get into exact reasons, but overall, my initial thought on this matchup is I could see it being high scoring at first, like you said, but ultimately, I could see the Dolphins just blowing. There's so many storylines with this game. It's a home opener, Dolphins playing the way they are. So this is going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how this plays out. I'll pull up our 3 keys to victory.
Yeah.
You can start off with your first one.
And this kind of goes coincide, but I think this Broncos team is a powder keg waiting to happen again. You saw last year when they were losing their mind about Russell Wilson and then they quit.
Right.
On I'm not saying that's going to happen in this game, but there's cracks in the armor from last year. It's the same team, they still hate him, Russell Wilson, and
right.
It just takes one. If the going gets tough, they'll break.
Right.
But yeah, so my first key, limit the mental mistakes. Just don't beat yourself. No unforced errors, snapping, penalties, missed kicks, blocked kicks, anything like that. Anything in the margins that you can control it. Get to the line quick. Don't jump offside, et cetera, et cetera. This we're so far superior than this team, which is insane to say as a Dolphins fan, but I truly do believe it, that we're so far superior. The only way we could lose this game is if we just have like a meltdown and are committing a bunch of errors. Just play good, solid, sound football like we have for the most part here in recent history, and you should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, as you guys can see, we have very similar stuff. We don't talk to each other about these. We just create them on our own, and then I put together the graphics. So we're just on the same wavelength. Until snapping issues are fixed, they're always going to be on this. So heads up for everyone out there, snapping issues are significant. And like I had mentioned earlier, we're getting to the point with the Dolphins, and we're not used to it, and it's okay because I'm not either. But they're so good to where it's almost like the only people that can stop them is themselves. And I look at the Patriots game, I look at the Chargers game, both games that you won, both games that should not have been as close as they were because you had errors that you forced yourselves, snapping issues at the goal line 2 times in a row against the Chargers and the Patriots, snapping issues when you're trying to knee the ball at the end of the game. I mean, come on, people.
I still can't believe that happened.
Right. So you and I are on the same thing. I think that ultimately when you're the more talented team, you're playing at home in a home opener, the main thing is settle in, don't get too crazy. I think the Dolphins have done a great job from last year at fixing the pre-snap penalties. I'm not sure exactly how many we have, but it's not a lot at all. We've done a great job, which is impressive considering how much motion we have. I think we're number 1 in the NFL in the amount of motion pre-snap in the NFL. But yeah, limiting the turnovers or mental mistakes, whatever it may be, you and I are on the same page there. So heading into the number 2, you have slowing down the first half Broncos offense, which is very similar to mine. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, quietly here, the Denver Broncos are the best first half offense in the season. It's partially because I think Sean Payton realizes what he has and he needs to have a really good scripted portion. But regardless of whatever it is, they have the best first half offense in the NFL. And it is only 2 games, but still, it's the best first half offense to this point. So if you could slow them down, stop them, that you're already off to a good start. Like you said before, in the second half, they have, 17 total points. And then 9 if you take out the Hail Mary.
They're averaging 17 in the first half, 4.5.
So yeah,
4.5 in the second half. If you take out that Hail Mary,
4.5 points. Yeah. So exactly. If you could stop this offense in the first half, I don't think you're going to see much offense in the second half. And I think that as the game goes on, Fangio is going to adjust and only get better. So really, if you could kind of just stop this scripted portion right off the gate here, that's a recipe for success against this team, which is crazy to think that the Broncos somehow have a good offense, but it's true.
Hey, I agree with you. I think that this could be a game that looks like the Chargers game at first, where it's just a higher scoring first half. Sean Payton's done a great job with Russell Wilson of when things are scripted, they're scoring a lot of points. They scored 21 points last week, as you said, in the first half against the Commanders. And if you can come out of the first half and be up, I'm not saying it needs to be Patriots 17-3, but if you can come out of the first half winning, I think that just what we've seen of the Broncos, it's a little bit of you have to show me for me to believe it. Until the Broncos showed they're going to be good in the second half, if you can go out, play nice and conservative, don't get crazy with the coverages, just play 2 safeties deep, don't allow the big plays, and get pressure on Russell Wilson. He in his career playing Fangio, he's averaging 4.5 sacks a game against Russell Wilson in the 8 games he's played against that Fangio's played against Russell Wilson. So it's going to be a key. Just come out strong in the first half. If you can go up, let's just say you're up by a touchdown into halftime, I think you have a high chance of winning this game. Now, getting into the third one, I know you want to pull up a graphic because you and I have different things here. Honestly, I think that probably we would both say if we had one more bullet point each, we'd probably use each other's. But I know you wanted to your third point, attacking Denver's secondary. I'm going to pull this up for everyone because you brought up a great chart that I'm going to pull up here. Let's see if it's up there. Yeah, there it is. Talk a little bit about this.
So this is just post-snap rotation rates in the NFL through the first 2 weeks. And if you see, the Panthers are number one. The defensive coordinator for the Panthers currently, and I'm going to butcher his name, but it's Ejaro Evero.
EJ Evero. Very good. He was the Broncos last year.
Exactly. Yeah. Broncos last year. I think a future head coach in the NFL. A genius to put it simply. I think he was the brains behind the reason the defense was so good. I think people remember seeing last year that their defense was holding people to something outrageous, like 17 points a game through the first part until they kind of quit. And the Broncos still couldn't win games. That was how bad Russell Wilson was. But yeah, he had this defense, the Broncos defense, just so far superior than what we've seen. And I think a lot of it was this. And that would have, caused some problems for Tua. But yeah, I think Vance Joseph is not as good as Evero. So yeah, and I want to go at this secondary. Even without injuries, I think it still is a questionable secondary outside of Pat Surtain. And then especially if Simmons is missing, this is not a good secondary at all. So yeah, I think you should go out and attack it. Test this. You saw how the Patriots, their game plan was who is Eli Apple covering? We're going to get the ball to them. That's what you should be doing with this secondary. Find the weak link and attack. That's what I'd like to see out of this offense.
Yeah, I mean, certainly attacking the secondary again, I could easily put it at 3B, 3A and 3B. The reason I'm putting stay patient with the run game, it was eye-popping how bad the Broncos defense, the run defense was in the second half. I mean, Brian Robinson was just having a field day. And I remember, if you go on my Twitter, right after, while I was watching that, I tweeted, whatever the over is for Dolphins rush yards, take it. Because I think that we're going to get to a point in this game where we're just going to try to wear them out and run the football. Again, this is a team that their defensive line is not the greatest, and they haven't been able to apply pressure, stop the run very well without sending a lot of people at the line of scrimmage. And I don't see them trying to do that against the Dolphins. So you're either going to have them blitz a lot, which you can attack them and expose them in their secondary, like you said, or if they want to say, if you're going to beat us, it's going to be through the run game. I mean, I think that the way this offensive line's looked in the run game, Mike McDaniel has committed a little more to it. We saw last week, it was almost the nail in the coffin. That long touchdown run from Mostert to put us up 24-10. So I just think staying patient with the run game, but certainly attacking Denver secondary. If you're patient with the run game, that then sets up the play action. And, with all the creativity, if you set up the play action with this team, it's just ridiculously good. But overall, really similar stuff between you and I. I think, again, like you and I probably would have had 3A and 3B, both with the run game and attacking the secondary hand in hand. But yeah, so overall, real quick, before I let you take it over, everyone knows I'm going to pick the Dolphins, right? I said this last episode. I'm going to keep doing it. I don't care. I'm going to do it this week. I'm going to do it next week. I'm going to do it the week after that, unless Tua is injured or unless we just come out and suck all of a sudden. I'm picking them to win. I think that, like you and I have talked about, it's going to be a fast-paced first half. I think you're going to see both sides really come out with a good game plan. But ultimately, I think the Dolphins are just going to have the better endurance, and it's going to go first half, and then the Broncos are going to slow down. You're just going to see the Dolphins continue to rise and keep scoring. So ultimately, I'm going to pick the Dolphins to put up some points in their home opener. I'm picking them to win 34-20 against the Denver Broncos.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a close first half. I don't think we're going to be able to completely shut them down, but I could see them not scoring at all in the second half. So I'm going to go with 34-31 14. I think they maybe got a late.
Ooh, okay,
Yeah,
20 points.
I think it's going to be. I think this could get ugly. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not, but I definitely think that. I think Jalen Phillips is going to have a big game here. That's assuming his back is okay. He said it's okay. I could not tell you what he had or anything, but I just feel like he's going to have a big game here. He's due for his coming out party.
Again, I think that, I agree with you. I think with this offensive line, which hasn't been the greatest, Russell Wilson takes his time, doesn't see the field necessarily that well. But again, like we talked about, the Dolphins did not respect the Patriots at all. Jalen Phillips' injury probably could have played. It was just back spasms, he said, but they were like, if we can't win without Jalen Phillips, then we have bigger issues. And Andrew Van Ginkel honestly came out and played lights out. Like, he was phenomenal. So, but I agree. I think that hopefully Jalen Phillips has a big day because, I mean, Anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah. I'd like this to be a good game. I'm gonna be there. I'd like to be cheering, but yeah, I feel like this may be more a bit of a celebration about what's to come. But as always, we're gonna keep the good times rolling here with the Dolphins. Hope we get the win here. That's first and foremost. Don't care how it happens, but we're rooting for a win here. Nothing else from me. So from us here at Dolphins versus the World, everyone, you know the drill. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Drop a score prediction. Share us your thoughts. I know you got anything in the comments, share them. Would love to hear. And as always, fins up. Go Dolphins.